What's up, everyone? Just wanted to talk today about how things have changed over the past 10 to 15 years. I've really noticed it even more probably the last 5 to 6 years after COVID, but even before that, like 2015, 2010, things were a lot different. And the accessibility of people for men and for women have changed a lot. And I just wanted to go on a rant about that. I'll start back from probably, let's just say 10, 11 years ago, like 2015. Back then, it just seemed like everybody would date, and we all at least had a goal in mind for dating, or we would try to at least date long term. You know, we were together, relationships were just a lot longer, and it seems like everybody would just try to be with somebody for maybe for a year, a couple years, or longer. At least everybody I knew. And especially back 10, 11 years ago, there was a lot more people getting engaged and getting married. And you would go out and there would be more functions with people and their families and their wives, their girlfriends, and you still see it, especially with the older generations. Well, at least some of them. They're not riddled with one or two divorces and that whole deal with their kids and everything. But I just want to use me as an example for a little bit. At least when I would date, it was usually for a longer term. At least in my 20s, it was like 2 serious girlfriends for a span of like 4 years and 3 years, I believe. Maybe 3.5. I could be forgetting. It's been a while. But we would always, get together with their families, go out and do things, travel. But the accessibility of people has changed. And now there is more of that thinking, especially that there's always somebody better out there. And I think everybody has fallen into that trap a time or two. But when you got things changing the way they have, especially with dating apps, dating in general, and people just throwing each other to the wayside, no one really trusts each other like they used to. And it can be hard to. But in order to play the game, you got to be able to take your wins and your losses. And I think that's why a lot of guys are just checking out. And it seems like a lot of women, a lot of chicks are doing the same thing. They're starting to see that they're all going after a lot of the same type of particular man, and these men with a lot of options. Why would you settle down? It's hard to, especially when you get caught in that loop of just the abundance, and especially not really having to try when you have that abundance, because you don't really have to. You can just move on to the next one. But there's a lot of people out here who are broken and damaged that haven't done the self-work, and they haven't realized what they've gone through or dealt with their traumas from the past, childhood or later. There's a lot of broken people out here, and there was something that a buddy of mine said to me a long time ago, was when I was younger, I didn't really understand what that meant. It was broken people make other broken people, and that's true. Because when you're broken and you don't really understand that you are, you can do the same things that those other people did to you to those people. And you might not even realize you're doing it because you haven't really sat around and thought about it. There's a lot of people who don't like to even sit with themselves and think, why? Why do I act this way? Or why am I this way? A lot of people don't have a lot of self-thought or self-healing or self-reflection to look back on the past and say, what caused this? And what can I do to change it? And some people, maybe they don't want to change it. Maybe the pain's too great. But it just seems like that's a big thing nowadays, and trust is a hard thing to come by. Not even just in relationships, but with friends and family can be the same way. And I've seen that more probably since 2020. That has all changed. And that people are more disposable now than what they ever have been. Especially trying to navigate the world now with dating apps and social media, Instagram, Facebook, being able to link up with people from the past that you might, thought you never see again. That's easier than it ever has been. And it does make things a little more difficult. But once you notice that, it's hard to unnotice that. Oh, and by the way, I'm just standing by these pecan trees, just hanging out, getting some sun. Just went for a little walk. Just figured I'd turn the camera on and speak about the experience and what I've seen that's happened to some of me and my friends. And it does make people check out in general, especially men. When they see that it's not worth putting in all that effort, people just start walking away. I've seen a lot of young men, never had girlfriends before, never experienced any of that. The only problem with that is you're missing a whole other side of life and you don't even realize it. At least with me, there was a lot of good times. You take the good with the bad, but you take it as a learning experience. And you got to look back on the past and say, with the good and the bad, something genuinely good has come out of that, because you have more experience in realizing that you're able to deal with situations that you weren't able to before. You're able to navigate other people's families and friends that you might have thought that you wouldn't be able to do before. Meeting parents and cousins and brothers and sisters, and just being able to go on road trips and see a different way of life besides being stuck in your house or playing games or being so withdrawn from everything that you don't have time to sit and really smell the roses, as they say, because it is a completely different experience when you got a woman and you love her and you're willing to do anything for her, sacrifice things for her, and they're willing to do the same thing for you. You start to think that these experiences are worth it, even if you take an L, even if you take a loss. Now, I'm not saying be naive and throw everything you've worked hard for away, but at the same time, a genuine connection with somebody that you love and care about is definitely an experience I think everybody should go through, and that everybody should experience at least once in their life so they have something to compare it to. And I was blessed enough to have those experiences, to be able to say I've done those things with the women I've dated and their families and their friends, been able to go places and travel, go to dinner. It's completely different to be somewhere with just you and your woman, and they look at you and you look at them, and you just say, man, this is nice. This is a good experience. But like I said, you have to realize when it's genuine and when it's not. The only way to gain that experience is to do it. To see past through the BS. And I think we're getting to a point where a lot of people aren't experiencing that anymore, and that's why the marriage rates are definitely dropping. There's a lot of factors that go into it too, besides just social media. Price of things are more expensive. You got to make more money. You got to try to do more things to get ahead. But there's a lot of people who will sacrifice themselves to get ahead. And I don't think that's necessarily correct either. I don't think losing yourself in the BS to get where you want to go is necessarily a place you want to be. Because then you look in the mirror and you don't know who you are. But there is still good experiences out here, and there is still good people out here. You just have to be able to sift through the BS to realize who they are or where they are and go from there. But a lot of people meet on social media and dating apps now. Meeting people in the real world is definitely something better. That I think you can definitely have a better connection and find that. But it's harder than it's been. I will admit that. You got to keep moving forward, though. Be confident in who you are and where you're going. Put in the work, and definitely the self-work to heal yourself as a man or a woman. And it takes time. It may even take years to realize that. But if that's what you want, you just have to go for it. And like I said, the wins and the losses, this is the game. And in order to play the game, you got to have those wins and you got to have those losses. There's billions of people on this earth, and we're just specks of dust floating around this universe. I think as people, we think we're a lot bigger than what we are, but when you come out in nature and you start touching grass again, you start to realize things are not as they seem, and it definitely helps you. Are things going to get better in the future? I don't know. We might be getting a turnaround. It might take a long time, but being the best version of yourself is going to help you with that, though. And it's going to give you the confidence to walk away if you have to. If you see something you don't like, if you see something and you say something, and if it doesn't align to where you're going or where you're at, then you do have to just move on. Because you can't make anybody stay if they don't want to. But it's 2026 now. It's about to be June 2026, so almost halfway through the year. Well, that's pretty much all I got to say about that. Just keep moving forward. That's all we can do. If you do want to find somebody, yeah, you just got to keep trying. Law of attraction has a weird way of bringing those people to you. But if you're not doing anything productive, it's going to be a lot harder. So let's just stay motivated. Get out there and do what we can to be the best versions of ourselves. That's all we really can control out here. Thanks for listening to me rant. If you like this video, like, comment, subscribe. It's going to help me out. I'll see you on the next one.